Good afternoon, boys and girls. Got a nice little project here today. It's a very, very old dictionary. It's the University English Dictionary, printed by R.F. Patterson and Sons. And this one, from what I can make out, was printed in something like 1904, between 1904 and 1906. Was given to my friend Tina by her grandfather. Tina is now into her late 70s, and she was going through her late father's stuff, and she came across a box full of books. And knowing that this was her grandfather's book, she basically asked me if there is anything whatsoever I can do to prolong its life. As you can see, it's pretty much falling apart. The spine is broken in the middle, and the pages are, they're in pretty good nick, but there's quite a lot of them have turned over, and you can see it's all quite discoloured. Just trying to flick through the back and see if there is a printing date, but there's nothing here. It was printed in Poland by the Number One Publishing Company Limited, and exported into England. So it's going to be quite an interesting one, this, because it is so old. The pages are so delicate. A lot of the spine is sort of starting to break apart, so I'm going to have to be quite careful in how I go about this one. You can see the big split down the spine there. See the way that's coming apart? So I've got to reattach all of that. I've got to create a new spine, create an entire new bookcase for it. So new spine, new hinges, new headbands, new end sheets, new bookcase for it. What I've done off camera, I have recreated on my computer the front page. Okay, just basically copying down the details that I can make out from the front here, because it's all covered in parcel tape, as we often get. So yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one. Off camera, I've made my end sheets, 3 of them, so that will go on top of that. This one will go at the back of the book. I've cut my mull to size, I've cut my headbands to size, I've cut my spine sheet to size. I've got my cup of tea in my famous mug. You see that? Wanted Dead or Alive, £1 million. So sort of early 1990s we got that in Los Angeles. So yeah, I think it's time to start demolition work in order for me to try to recreate this beautiful book. You know, one really interesting thing about a dictionary, it's got every other book that was ever written in it. Did you know that? So I can pretty much discard that. Again, off camera, I've taken down all of my measurements so that I don't have to keep mucking about with it. I'll keep that for reference later on. Keep the corner there for reference later on. Now, I'm being very careful not to pull too much of the primary off the back. I need to tidy all of these little loose bits up, otherwise they will make it very, very difficult to recreate the spine and work out if it's a glued or if it's a sewn book. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I need to reattach those 2 pieces there, and once I've got those tipped into place using my EVA glue, classic book binders, book restorers glue, I use the microphone again. Where have you gone? Come back. using a nice flat brush, then I can get a nice even layer of glue. And I'm going to give it a little bit of time in the press before I strip the back and the primary off, just to make sure that what I've got to work with can withstand the process. So bead of glue. Tell you what, let's use my left hand, then you can see what I'm doing. Nice bead of glue. With the pages being very dry, it's likely to soak up a lot of glue. Tina was saying this book's been in the cupboard for about 40 years, untouched. So that would explain why the pages are so very, very dry. Okay, so that's my bead of glue. I'm not being very, very precise. I'll lay that on there. I'm using my fingertips to get a feel for it and making sure that I'm not leaving any ridges. And you can tuck that into place. All of these pages I'm going to have to reinforce somehow. One or two of them I can probably just remove altogether because I'm replacing the end sheets. And we'll give that glue a little bit of time to set up. I'm going to reinforce the glue on the outside, putting the bead along and through the process called capillary action. The glue will suck down into the right place and hold the joint into place. So just gently tease that glue into place, and then that's going to go straight into the binder, into the clamp, and I'm not going to mess about doing with this initially because I need that glue to have time to cure. Okay. And I think what I shall do whilst I'm waiting for that to settle down, I'm going to go ahead and make the book boards for the case. Come back to all of that lot a little bit later on. So, as I mentioned to you, I've taken my measurements down. What I'm looking for here is some straight edges and some precise corners. Just going to move you very slightly. So I'm using a 1.4mm proprietary book board, and that's perfect. And I need 2 at 178. So, oh, excuse my yawning, I've had a busy day already. Took my granddaughter to school this morning and then went and did a recycling run to our local place down in Beckton in East London. Over the last month I've been redecorating the parish centre reception area at the church, and I got the carpeting for that finished yesterday, but it left me with about 16 bags of used tiles which I had to go and get rid of. Then my width is 127, millimeters. So there's one. There's two. Mark out my line. And then go again, 127. And I also need to make a spine board, which is 37 millimeters. So mark all these three up. Okay, so double checking, 127, 127, 37, and then using a slightly bigger knife. So what I've had to do, I've just had to go and snap the end off of one of these so that I got a nice sharp point. And then using my precision ruler with the cutting edge raised as protection. And making sure I'm absolutely precise and cutting through the middle with the pencil lines. And then my spine board. Okay, now switching to my long ruler. And I think I'm going to stand up for safety's sake. The board should just lift away. And that's my two end boards, perfection. And my spine board, tell you what, almost looks like I knew what I was doing there. Okay. Now, to make the covering, I'm going to use some dark blue buckram, and should be able to get it all out of this cut piece here. Yeah, works out just about perfectly. What I need to do, I need to make sure that the edges of my buckram are nice and clean. Where's my tea? There's my tea. Oh, God. Wish I could make tea like that. Still very conscious of not chopping the end off my finger like I did a couple of months ago. So now I have my corners that I can work off of. Do you remember the dimensions that we work off of when we're doing with buckram? We work off of a 2 centimetre border. Okay, so make sure you line it up. So again, up from the bottom we go 2 centimetres. And that enables us to fold the buckram over properly when we're gluing it to the boards and giving you a lovely neat finish. So now we've got those, we bring in our book boards, line them up. Can you see? I think you can see. I'll do this left-handed so that you can see what's going on, and then I trace around the circumference of the board, and then from that line we come in 6mm to allow for our hinge. And then again marking the points, and we get our spine board, making sure that is perfectly aligned on the bottom. Mark it out, 6mm again, top and bottom, bottom and top. Be easier in a minute when I can get rid of the remainder of the roll. And then we bring in our spine board, our backboard, making sure that's perfectly aligned. And then we go 2 centimetres again, and this is our outside, this is our peripheral cut line. And then from the top we go 2 centimetres, and we go 2 centimetres again. Long rule. And we're ready to make our cuts. So we're just going to detach the long piece of the buckram, make all the rest of the cuts so much easier. Get rid of that. Who's really observant of you will notice that I'm working in a different area today. Decided to work downstairs. So the scraps will go into there, and there you have it. Let's put bookboards in. Okay, so then we glue the boards down to the buckram, and then we do our cuts, and we do our folds, and we don't do all the usual stuff, and then we leave that to sit for a little while. Okay, so you've all heard me talk about this before. So bookbinder's wax paper. Text message has just come in. Move those over to the side for a few minutes. Bring in our glue. Bring in our ball brush. And we're ready to start pasting. Okay. And to thank you for watching this series. I've had some, not as many viewers as I had hoped to have, but I have had some wonderful feedback from a few people, and I appreciate each and every one of you who takes the time to watch and takes the time to hit the like button and takes the time to actually make comment. It just makes these things worthwhile. It slipped a bit. Just needs to go that right fraction. So you can see with this stuff you don't have much time for finesse. So use the flat of the bone folder to smooth out any air bubbles. Follow the edges of the book cards around. By rubbing against the edges like this, it helps for the glue to sort of penetrate into the edges of the bookboard. It will make your folds a lot easier in a little while. Okay, so we go up the middle. Once again, making sure that they're precisely aligned in the corners. Done. And over you go. Flat of the brush. And then the bookboard. Emphasising the hinges. And there we go. And the last one. Straight. Okay. Okay, looking pretty good. Again, using the flat of the bone folder. And then using the straight edge. Go right the way around. Emphasising the edges of your bookboards. Particularly into the hinges. Okay. That's part one of the bookboard completed. So we can put wax paper over there for the time being. Well, actually, we're going to need it, aren't we? Because we are going to be doing our corners. Okay, so we need the long scissors. You okay? You still see me? Well done. Okay, so this is where you need to start to feel a bit brave, because we're going to be making our right angle corners. Check our folds. Those two, we can take it back a fraction more. Doesn't have to be much. Okay, so perfect. That's as near as we can get it. They're lovely. Lovely. Okay. So, we have a change of paste brush. We're going to get the tipping brush out now. Get rid of any fragments that could potentially get stuck in your work. Don't need the scissors now. I do like to keep a nice tight and tidy workstation. Close off any knives, and then across the top. Not just on the buckram, but also a little bit on the bookboard itself, a little bit into the hinges. You make sure the paste is fairly evenly spread. Bring it up and over the top, using your fingers to pull it down and into place. And you get your bone folder and go right the way across, forcing out any surplus. Emphasize your hinges, and then you move on to the next one. So what are you guys doing this weekend? Anything planned? I'm off to Abingdon for a day's fly fishing, weather permitting. Got a big storm coming in off the Atlantic for overnight, Friday night into Saturday. Potentially 40 to 50 mile an hour winds and really heavy rain. So that could make casting the fly line a little bit interesting. There's about 20 of us going, so we don't really want to have to cancel because of the weather, because the fishery will lose a lot of money. And in these modern times, fisheries need all of the support and all of the help that we, the fishing public, can give them. So here we go, do the top fold now. And pull that into place, closing the joins. Pushing out any surplus glue, rubbing it away with a slightly damp cloth. Another thing the wind will be make things quite interesting for is doing the videoing. You get a little bit of roaring noise through the microphone, so I'm going to have to set up the lapel mics, I think. It hopefully will suppress a little bit of the noise, because most of the boys in the fishing club will tell you I've got a problem with wind at the moment anyway. And they all said they're going to come with earplugs for the weekend, just in case. I'm just correcting the corners, pinching it into place. Perfect. And that is how you make a quick bookcase. Okay. So the corners. All ready to go. Just clean down the outside of the book board, make sure there's no adhesive got in any other places. Now I can put my wax paper to the side and clean up my cutting board. So I wonder if we can risk taking the text block out of the clamp already. No, I'm going to give it a little while. Right, see you in a little while. Right, hi there guys, I'm back again. So what is it? It's two and a quarter hours later. Taken the text block out. Okay, so the spine has had a chance to reattach. The book fits nicely into the new bookcase. So now it's time to complete the work on the spine. Close those pages off on each other. Right, let's go back into that big repair. That's what I didn't want to happen. It's just come apart again. So I'm going to pinch that in. There we go. And press down hard on it. And I'm going to go ahead and just rebuild the spine. So the first process will be to tip these pages into place. Okay. So it's going to be the new title page, which will go in first. So I put a bead of adhesive along here. Like that. And then being very, very accurate and making sure that it's the right way up. Just place that in there, and then using the bone folder, I just encourage the pages to attach to each other. And then this is the end sheet that we're going to go put in. Okay, nice, steady, even bead all the way across. It goes in as we did with the first one, making sure that they sit properly and bed them in. And then we go over and we do the same with this one. I've just had a nice little nap for about an hour. All granddads are entitled to have a nap at some stage during the day. As I was up very early to drive up to my daughter's house and then to take Marissa to school. And that was wonderful. Getting her ready for school, having some breakfast with her and getting her into a beautiful school uniform. Okay, so as I always do, mark in the top corner there just a little letter T, which tells me where the top of the book is. And then I need to get rid of that because I won't be using the small brush again. And bring my book clamp in. Slide the book in, leaving sufficient exposed for me to be able to work on the spine. And just into place, just to hold it relatively firm. Turn it up the right way. I'm going to slide you up a little bit because I'm going to need to stand up. So I'm going to clean off the ball brush. Get rid of the most of the water. Stand up. Check and go out of the way. So, we begin the process, making sure we have everything in the right orientation. And Tina did say that she would like to have one ribbon in there. So, let's give her a nice green ribbon. We go. So, need an inch or so in the book, an inch or so below the book. Scissors, cut. And then build up a nice layer of paste on the spine. Filling any little voids. Now I've deliberately not taken the old primary off, so I would do in most stages, in most circumstances, but the primary is holding the rest of the spine together. And the old spine is so old that I think it would just fall apart if I were to take it off. So just tap that into place. And I need to bring my mull across. And just work that into place using the bone folder. Okay, wipe off the glue, and then we just build up a good layer of paste and tap it in. really need the mole to stick firmly to the spine, and this is going to be allowed to sit for several hours before I do anything else with it. So top headband, and bottom headband. And then just tapping it in using the flat edge of my bone folder. Again, that encourages the glue to soak in. And then we'll put the spine sheet in. So, having cut it to the right dimensions, again start working it into the spine of the bone folder. Paste, fold, repeat, paste, fold, repeat. Again, you have to be reasonably precise with this, otherwise you end up making a spine which then becomes too big for your text block and it won't fit the book case. One more, and then it's drying time. Last one, and then it's drying time. So now I'm taking just that little extra moment to make sure all my lines are right.
Drink your tea.
Hang on. So I've just peeled the waste away, just rounding it over now. And that is ready now. We just need to sit back and let it dry. So that's a process that's probably going to be overnight, because this spine is so fragile. I don't want to lose the book altogether, so I'm just going to give that every possible opportunity for it to dry properly. So good afternoon, boys and girls. I'm back. You know, I've just had the most wonderful morning with my beautiful granddaughter and her class at the school. My wife and I went to watch their Christmas nativity show. Group of 4.5 and 5-year-old children memorising all sorts of songs and all sorts of lines, and it was just incredible what these kids can do nowadays. When I was 4 or 5 years of age, I couldn't even wipe my nose, let alone do anything else like that. So yeah, they used the I Spy with My Little Eye to tell the story of the Nativity. I Spy with My Little Eye, something beginning with A, an angel, with C was a camel, with J was Jesus. And it was just absolutely beautiful, little 25-minute show. And yeah, it's really sort of got me into the Christmas spirit, and well worth it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to introduce the text block to the cover. The text block is set up beautifully overnight, and it sits in the cover just about perfectly. Okay. Off camera, I've put the reinforcing tape over the hinges so that will make the hinges last a little bit longer. I've got my wax paper cut, I've got my wax paper pieces cut to enable me to join everything up together. So I've decided on which is going to be the front, and this is going to be the front. So turn it around accordingly and just make sure it's placed in there and sighted properly, making sure that will come over the top. And you've all seen me do this in 2 or 3 of the other books, so I'm just going to slide that in there like that. Bit of wax paper in to stop the pages from sticking with each other. And once again, as before, using my ball brush, yeah, it's dry enough, blowing away any residue, I'm going to start pasting. Okay. So a little bit of paste underneath the mole, sight the mole, and then dab it all into place, making sure that the paste goes through the mesh of the mole. And once I'm happy with that, then I just paste from the spine outwards across the page so that the page does not crumple up. Making sure that there's a good covering, particularly over the mole. Put that out of the way, and once again, this is where it's very, very important to make sure that your book is properly sighted. And then flattening the page out a bit, and just drop that into place. And at this stage I'm going to take the paper out. So a little bit of seepage, which we don't want. And then using the bone scraper, the bone folder, make sure that that's sitting in place. It hasn't gone down quite as nicely as I would have hoped, but never mind. We have a little bit of trimming to do there. Yeah, that's fine. So we go to the back of the book. A fresh piece of paper, wax paper. Paste under the mole, fold the mole over, tap the mole into place. Tapping the mole with the glue, making sure that you have plenty in there. And then do the rest of the page. Okay, and pull the wax paper out. And over we go. Back in, back to the main page. And just gently tease out any air bubbles, the bone folder, just to tease everything into place, but not pushing too hard because it will tear the paper. Okay, and just double checking. I might just have to do a little bit of trimming once the pages are dried. It's not too bad at all. Any glue which has made its way onto the buckram you can just gently tease away. There we go. Ready to go into the press for an hour, just till it's dried out. Then I'll do the final trimming and then do the gold leafing. Okay, so, right, hi guys. So, the book has come out of the press now. A couple of 3 hours later, what is it, 3:30, just after now, so a couple of hours later, and it all appears to have dried really rather nicely. So, just going to put the finishing touches on it. And that's basically just to leaf in the title on the front of the book. You've seen me do this with one or two of the other books before. So it's a sheet of very fine gold leaf, some micropore medical tape, which you use in place. Don't use sellotape on this because basically it will stick to the book and it will leave all sorts of traces on the book. And all I'm doing is just holding the leaf fairly tightly into place whilst I do the pen work. Okay, so I've managed to get my leafing pen to work today. It didn't work very well the other day when I was doing Pascal's book. So I have the title of the University English Dictionary, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be putting on to the front of the book. So using an ordinary little triangle, making sure that it is all sorted out. The University English Dictionary. Okay. Let's see how it's come out. And this one book has got every other book that was ever written in English all wrapped up inside it. Saves you buying any other book, you just open this one and look for the words. So boys and girls, there we go. All done, ready to go back to Tina on Sunday. It's been fun doing this one. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just tidying up the pages, but you don't really need to see me going through and I'm off to Abingdon on Saturday with Martin Williams and the rest of the crew. Hopefully the storm that they forecast will be going further south. Thanks for watching. Grandpa Chris signing off.